We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pies Presser. The finals week, or prelim finals week, is finally here. What are we going to talk about tonight? We've got a few things. As always, guys, it's going to be fan-generated in the chat, so any questions, put them in the chat. We will go from there. But maybe we can start with and continue on the conversation that we had last night, and that was the conversation around players like Harris Andrews and whether we should tag him, or do we play the system role where it's a system tag where if he's in certain sections of the field, we'll have certain players assigned to the role. Or we've seen Harris Andrews at his best against us in our most recent game against the Lions at the G, and that didn't work out well for us. But the argument is that the side wasn't playing well. And then you go back to early in the year where Harris Andrews only had 3 intercepts for the game and was pretty much nullified in that game. But then back then, that's when we were sort of entering this peak form where we just smashed anyone that was put in front of us. The Brisbanes, the Sydneys, the Hawthorns. That's the question we're asking. That is simply the question. Welcome, everyone. I hope we're all doing super well. Josh Jacobs, welcome. Stephanos, welcome. Dim Sim, Chris Talbot, Darren, Andoni, Yasu, Mello, and Voidoid. I hope we are all well. So that's the question that we're gonna start with. And look, I had this radical idea. Maybe I can radicalize you all and convince you that maybe a Jeremy Howe can do a number on a Harris Andrews. I think this is someone who has forward IQ. Someone just quickly there. The wind is crazy here in Melbourne. If for those of you who aren't in Melbourne, the wind is crazy. It's 25, but it's been such a odd day. But anyways, maybe that's what's to come for the rest of the week. Maybe that's talking footy to us in a different kind of language. There you go. So you look at options. Jordan De Goey in his press conference today talked about how Billy Frampton played on him in 2023, and he's sure that the coaching group have a plan to keep a tab on Harris Andrews in this prelim game. What are the options? Seriously. So maybe we can do a poll. Think of 4 or 5 players. I think I can do 4 options in a poll. My fan theory one is potentially a Jeremy Howe. How much faith do I have in it? I don't know. It's an idea. We can dive into it a bit more if we want to. But the other players, I want to know, what are some of the options? Wind has been very full on. Breno, welcome. There's the rosy sticker. Love that. Appreciate you. Hey, champ, Steve-O. Feels like Magpie season. Missed the main man, Manny. Yes, we're all missing him in Greece at the moment. I've been good, man. How have you been? 12-goal breeze. Oh, my goodness. Is it a risk to bring in Bobby? Stewie's asking. We'll get there. We can get there. We've definitely had this conversation, but each day, new layers are unfurled. Great idea about Jeremy. Let's do a poll. Let's go. Let's start a poll. Who gets the Harris Andrews job? All right, let's say Mason Cox. We'll probably get a look at some point. If any of you are curious, as to why I'm thinking potentially Jeremy Howe, shoot the question. I can explain it again. Mason Cox, Jeremy Howe, McStay, if he was to come in, and then Myercheck. I think I only have 4 options. I can't add any more, so we're going to have to roll with these 4. I don't think Tim Membry could do a job. How is Myercheck? Is he going to play the preliminary final this week? I think we'll get more of an idea tomorrow, which is the first training session of the week. And then we'll get even more of an idea on a Thursday when we have main training plus the press conference. Go small and keep the ball low, says Kieran Kelly. Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes that's a big ask for a side that has played high and long for the most part of the year, Collingwood. So, yeah, you can throw a bit of chaos and snap the ball in and tumble it in and barrels. Like we definitely have mixed up the way we go inside 50. We've like you've seen Shooter with the barrels to DC. We've seen that. I think it was Shooter with the barrel early in the game as well, where Jamie Elliott took that contested mark against the Crows to kick the first goal of the game. Just gives us extra purchase, makes it harder to read. Teresa, welcome. Could we consider Will Hoskin Elliott in the mix for Harris, specifically for a Harris Andrews job? No. I think he's not in good enough form to be considered, and you're not going to purely bring him in for the Harris Andrew role. Nathan says Bobby has to play. Woody, welcome, mate. Bro, why is Premier full forward Billy Frampton or premium full forward Billy Frampton not an option? You don't fix something that works. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I guess the question we have to ask is, what would he do a better job in? Being a defender in our D50 or being a defender in our forward 50? I think you just have to. I know you're saying it tongue in cheek, but I think you do have to keep Billy Frampton in the back line. My reason to the Jeremy Howe name being mentioned is because we don't have many calculated risks going into this game. We're pretty settled with our side. We're pretty settled with our form. We're settled with the list, okay? And then you think, well, Darcy Moore, Billy Frampton, Bruzzy, Quaynor, Perryman, they're all doing exceptionally well as a defensive unit. So where we were desperate for Jeremy Howe to be available 4 weeks ago, I don't think we're as desperate. Yes, would he strengthen our backline? Yes, but we've been pretty darn good without him, okay? So while that's settled, you ask, well, what can we do here? If we wanted some flexibility in this matchup, what would you do? You're not going to put Billy Frampton on Harris Andrews when he's playing. I just don't think, I think Jeremy Howe playing as a forward and potentially keeping a close eye on Harris Andrews. He has the ability to kick goals, and then he can defend on Harris Andrews as well. And if it doesn't work, at least at the very worst, you just put him into the back line, and then you go, all right, Myercheck, let's put you on Harris Andrews for a bit. That doesn't work. Is McStay in the side? Mason Cox. I think it would go. If we wanted to be experimental, you'd go Jeremy Howe first. If that doesn't work, you try Mason Cox, and then you go Brody Myercheck if all else fails. That's what I'm thinking. How would be a good fit to play in Harris as it's something new for him? I'm curious. What's the voting? I mean, you guys aren't opposed to the Jeremy Howe idea. We haven't heard anything about it yet. We will wait to see if that's something that comes to fruition. That's a watch. But a lot of you are saying Mason Cox, 28%. So it goes 28% Mason Cox, 25% McStay, and then Jeremy Howe and Myercheck are tied at 22%. So there's no unanimous decision here. I think we're all quite torn at this point. So I'm intrigued. Like Mason Cox, what can Mason Cox bring us with Harris Andrews? Well, in a pack contest, I think Mason Cox beats Harris Andrews more often than not. If it's a genuine 1-on-1, I am concerned because Harris Andrews would work his body pretty well against a Mason Cox. If the ball hits the deck, I mean, Harris Andrews, how is he at ground ball level? Truthfully, I'm not too sure. We know Mason Cox is borderline a spectator once the ball hits the deck at times. What else does Mason Cox offer? I mean, he'd just be an absolute nuisance, wouldn't he? And he's a forward, so he has that craft. And he doesn't necessarily have to play on Harris Andrews to give him grief. So that's Mason Cox. That's Jeremy Howe. McStay, if he was to be selected, what does he offer for a Harris Andrews matchup? Similar athletic ability, I would say. But My concern with McStay out of those other three, but next to those other three being Coxie, Howie, and Myercheck, I think the issue with Dan McStay is he just doesn't have. He lacks that grit. He lacks that killer mentality. I think that's his greatest hindrance in his career. Why he hasn't been able to go from let's call him I'd say McStay is a C plus, B minus key forward over the course of his career. What has stopped him from going from a B plus, a B minus, C plus, I think it's all up here. I really do. Because you see games, and you go, wow, this guy could be a B plus, A minus key forward for the duration of his career. But it has to be the mental side of things that holds Dan McStay back. The confidence is an issue when he doesn't stick to his gun, or when his strengths aren't holding up. It's been difficult for him. But we will say that when McStay is tried in multiple different positions throughout the course of the season, it does make it hard for someone like Dan to find continuity and stability in the one position that he was brought for initially, and that was to play centre half forward, full forward, whatever it may be. He's played ruck, he's played backline, and he's played forward all in one game, in multiple games this season. So that's the asterisk. The asterisk. Why do I feel like I'm not saying that right? Asterisk. You know what I'm talking about? These ones, these logos. Anyways, the symbol. There's an asterisk. Nah, that's cooking me. There's that thing, that symbol that looks like a snowflake next to his name because of how he's been thrusted into foreign positions. All right? Go easy on me, guys, yeah? Now, Myercheck has that mentality, that just brute mentality. He doesn't like losing his contests, but I do think Myercheck's genuine size difference is probably too much. Now, some of you might say Jeremy Howe is even smaller than Myercheck in frame and height, which could be true. But I think Jeremy Howe has a bit more IQ and will navigate the body, the size in body, the difference in body size. I think Jeremy Howe will play off a Harris Andrews and allow himself to jump at and jump on Harris Andrews rather than being in a tussle. If anyone gets in a wrestle with Harris Andrews in an aerial contest, I don't think any one of those four are winning it anyways, 9 times out of 10. You know what I'm saying? Bobby Rove's the front of the pack. Love that. Joshy says it was the same issue with Billy Frampton, but we have got him to gain confidence, and look how good he is going. Yasura Manny, how's Greece? Voidoid says we don't need any huge wild moves for Andrews. Just get a player to do a job. Don't need to swing things around too much. Got to back our own players in elsewhere and around the ground too. True. McStay just doesn't go in hard enough. Unfortunately, I agree. Dookie, I agree. Teresa says, I'm sure they'll be more concerned about McLuggage. Do they use long on him or throw Sidey back into a soft tagging role? He did do it well in some games last year. Well, I think with Sidey, the way we were able to use him in the forward line against the Crows, I think we'd like to exercise that again. So I think Sidey playing on McLuggage is less likely. Probably Ned Long and see how we go. But there's a few players that have they've hit a quick like a spike in their, call it a purple patch, right? You talk about McLuggage, Ashcroft, Wilmot, Lohman. They've all had that game against the Gold Coast Suns. Their individual games were either ranked number 1 or ranked number 2 for their highest rated games of the season. Now, how likely is that to happen again? Unlikely, but at the very least, they're going to come in with some good form, which will encourage strong games or strong output from most of those players. Yeah. Probably won't follow Cox upfield. Will want to stay last man in defense and will be able to play off Mason, says Stefanos. Let's worry about this game. Why worry about who might be listed next year? Someone talking players. Darren says, I feel more comfortable having Cox continue his role from the last game and give the gig to Brody. I guess, I mean, what's the poll saying? I mean, 52%, 52 votes so far, and 31% leads the poll, and that is Mason Cox. So it's number 1, Mason Cox as the first option. Howe second, McStay third, Myercheck the least preferred out of you guys. Teresa says Logan won't kick 6 again. He isn't playing against Darcy and Charlie Dean. Frampton will go for him. Dude's kicked 50 plus goals this year at his age. Is definitely having a season for the ages, Logan Morris. Now, he might not kick 6, but we must prepare for a strong performance from a Logan Morris. He's young, so that works against him. And without going into a bit of a match preview conversation, or maybe we do, you look at this game objectively and you say, okay, what's more likely at this point? And we're not assuming anything. We're just talking the objective reality, okay? We talk about Collingwood need, at this point, have only played 1 game in the final series and need 1 to go into a grand final. So that's 2 wins in a row to get to a granny. And then you got, this is obvious, right? Then you got Brisbane, who played in a disappointing game against Geelong. They've had to travel back to Brisbane. They do what they do against Gold Coast. And then they come back to the G and they're going to have to play against a fresh Collingwood side. Whereas they've travelled, they're probably more battered and bruised. I just think it's a long way around. To play 3 games back to back to back to get to the grand final is obviously a much harder ask than it is to win 1 game, have a week off, and then play another in the prelim. Now, we've seen with the week off before the finals helps a lot of teams, but you know, objectively, you'd like to lean on that idea that we've had the rest. The older players will benefit from that dearly, and then you got Brisbane on the other side. No Hipwood, no Lockie Neal, but then you got players who did step up against the Gold Coast Suns and against a really bullish and talented, or arguably one of the best midfields in the league, being the Gold Coast midfield. They all stepped up, those players. The Zach Baileys, the Rayners, McCluggage, Ashcroft, obviously. Like, these are the players that have raised to another level. The question is, can they do it again? Can they do it again is the question. The players talking about Bobby over the last week sound completely different to a month ago. Their tone is more confident than before. Bring him in. Well, I've always said with Bobby Hill, if he trains and ticks the boxes, I think he's every chance he should be selected on Thursday night for team selection. Clearly, they're trying to get him to. For me, it sounds like they're trying to get him to the prelim. When you hear that he had a sponsorship event in Tasmania, and he had to pull out of it last minute so he could get his minutes in a VFL scratch match, that to me points to the fact that, they're saying, hey, Bobby, you play this game, you train every session leading into this prelim, we will consider you a magnet for selection. So now he has Tuesday, Thursday. He has 2 sessions. 2 sessions to be considered, and then he will be considered. 2 more sessions. Now, whether he starts or is a sub, Is that as much of a big deal as Bobby Hill not being selected? No, I as long as he is selected in some capacity, I will take that. I'm not going to split hairs over should Bobby Hill start or be a sub. I don't think we should be looking into it that deeply. I don't think we need to be that dependent. I understand it's a prelim. I understand it's do or die. But the fact that we already have Lockie Schultz and McCreary and Jamie Elliott, pressure forwards, and a scoring forward in Jamie Elliott, who is also a pressure forward. I think we have those players on the field available. I'm not as concerned if Bobby starts or not. In the past, where we have not had that speed in our forward line, where Bo McCreary has been out with a hammy, or Lockie Schultz, whether it be through a concussion, I think it's hard. I think I've said this a couple weeks ago. You want 3 of your 4 pressure forwards or your small to medium sized forwards available. If you don't, then you're chasing ass. You're playing Pat Lipinski, who is an endurance player who can play as a forward, high half forward, but doesn't have the speed that Bo possesses, that Lockie Schultz possesses, that Bobby Hill possesses. Lipinski doesn't kick goals in the forward line as much as a Bobby Hill. So I always say, if you have 3 of those 4, you're gonna go okay systematically. And then if you throw in Bobby Hill as a sub, I think you're laughing. Glad I'm not a selector. It's gonna be difficult. I was saying, like, we'll probably do the predicted 23 tomorrow, and that's gonna present some issues when we factor in matchups. All right, let's do another poll. Should Bobby Hill be selected? Should Bobby Hill be selected? What's the question I'm asking? Are you okay with Bobby being a sub? No, yes. No. If he is selected, he must start. If he's selected, must start. How about that? All right. Let's see what we have to say about that. Southeast Wolf, that's a great point. Like when you have pressure forwards who roll and get behind the ball, that's crucial for a side to play against a side like Brisbane who moved the ball so well. I think getting those Lockie Schultz behind the ball, Bo McCreary behind the ball in transition to chase down tackles from behind, but also get into the corridor and congest that as quickly as possible. Now, that doesn't happen if we don't slow down the first phase, but if we can slow down the first phase, it gives an opportunity for, like I said, our forwards to smother the corridor and not allow those easy kicks. Not easy kicks, but those corridor kicks that Zorko likes to find, Wilmot, anyone, essentially. He must start. Start Bobby regardless. Prefer to start, but don't see the club doing that. Chris says, especially against the Lions, who Bobby loves playing, would be ludicrous to sub him. Okay. Should Bobby Hill be selected? Are you okay with Bobby being a sub? And it's 50-50 in the chat. It's 50-50 in the poll. Interesting. Rat Poison says, I think the Woods have too much for the Lions. I hope so. We're all hoping that. Mello says, Bobby comes in as a sub in the third. Here's the thing. If Bobby is a sub, in my opinion, at the very latest, he has to come in halfway through the third quarter. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He must come in halfway through the third quarter. I don't want to see him coming in the fourth quarter. I don't want to see him coming on with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Give him a chance to warm himself into the game and impact the game before it's gone. Potentially gone. Emma says, shutting down Zorko would be helpful. I remember when we smashed them, we squeezed them so well. Defensively, Zorko didn't know what to do. Challenge that ball movement since he helps drive that. And I think that's all to do with Bo McCreary and Lockie Schultz. These are the 2 players who will have Dane Zorko in the firing line. That's the player that they want to ensure that doesn't get off the leash, so to speak. Would you tag Zorko in the prelim final? Just give him heaps of attention. Murphs says Bobby is a moments guy. More chances if he starts. I'd start him. I'd like to know where has Bobby scored, or when has Bobby scored most of his goals in 2025? I'd say third quarter, fourth quarter. Is that fair to assume? Was that fair to guess that Bobby's probably scored most of his goals in the second half this year? I think about Essendon, where he lit it up in that third quarter on Anzac Day. Generally speaking, I feel like he warms into the game and likes those moments in the third and the fourth. Could be wrong. Voidoid is asking what we should be, or what Voidoid is saying is what we should be discussing is how to allow Nick to get off the Dunkley leash. Well, he did a job on Matt Rao, that's for sure. But I think Nick Dacos is too quick for Dunkley on the outside. On the inside, he's probably going to have some issues. I don't know. I'm not too sure. Start him, lad. Surely. Truly, lad. Aye, lad. Crows misranking in the same way. Long has to look after Nick regularly. Yeah, just like get blocks on him in the stoppage contest. Get blocks on Nick Dacos to get him free and moving around the stoppages. I'm not so worried as much on the outside. But here's the thing. That would have been more of an issue 6 weeks ago. But here we are with the Goey. Here we are with Scott Pendlebury. Here we are with Nick Dacos. Here we are with Josh Dacos rotating through. Here we are with Ned Long, who's playing very well all of a sudden. Not all of a sudden, but he's worked into it. He's worked his way back into good form. I think there's a lot of problems that present for Collingwood, for Brisbane in the midfield. Pendlebury just does Pendlebury things when it's this time of the year. Still, Sidebottom will come in and have a say if need be, whether it be forward centre or centre bounce. They've got bigger issues to worry about. If they want to put all their energy in Nick Dacos' basket, well, guess what? Geordie De Goey might just have a prelim JDG performance. He might just have a 30-1 like he did against GWS in 2023. I mean, Geordie is a prelim guy. If we want to talk about players to worry about in a prelim final, Jordan De Goey is the ultimate finals player. So let's have a look at his career. Let's go. Okay, so it's 2018 was the first season he played finals. So qualifying final against West Coast, 11 touches, 2 goals. Semi-final, 14 touches, 3 goals against GWS. Prelim final, 10 touches, 4 goals. And then grand final, 13 touches, 3 goals in 2018. He kicked 48 goals that season. 2019, did he get... We lost to... We beat Geelong in 2019 in the qualifying final. Did he do his hammy? Did he do his hammy in 2019? I can't seem to remember. And then he went to Doha or something? Was that the year? Elimination final against West Coast in 2029, touches, 2 goals. And had that kicked that game winner from that forward 50 stoppage. 2021 was a write-off. 2022 qualifying final, 26 touches, 2 goals. 26 touches, 2 goals. Semi-final, 24 touches, 1 goal. Probably had his most disappointing performance in the finals game against Sydney in that prelim final, so we swiftly move away from that one. 2023, Melbourne, 19 touches, 1 goal. Preliminary final against GWS, 34 touches, and then 18 touches and 2 goals against Brisbane in the grand final. So, there you have it. What are we saying? 50-50 still? 50-50 with Bobby starting and not starting? De Goey has so much talent. They were trying to get him right for the grand final that we never played. I remember we were so worried. We already had our mind set on, our sights set on that that potential grand final against Richmond, we forgot that we're playing a bloody prelim against GWS at the G. And then, yeah, we lost that. So, yeah, Goey did his hammy, didn't he? Dom, welcome. Why shouldn't Bobby be ready? He hasn't played for 8 weeks. He'll be fresh. Like playing in round 1 of a new season. Would Fly play Bobby as a sub in round 1, 2026? Same thing. Look, I don't think he's had as much of a pre-season leading into this game like he did in the actual pre-season. But honestly, if it was up to me, if I was the coach, if I was Jared Wade, I would without a doubt start Bobby Hill on Saturday. Does that mean they're going to do that? Of course not. What do I think is more likely? I'm going to err on the side of caution and say that they're going to play Bobby as a sub. But I would love them to say, nah, we're taking a risk here. We're taking a risk. Some people see it as a risk. Do I see it as a risk? Not really. But I would love to see Bobby Hill starting for the Pies on Saturday. Simple as. I lad, you been getting some sun? Yep. Yeah. After the sauna, go outside for 10, 15 minutes, soak it up, and then running outside as well. Shocks, lad. Keep up, lad. Keep up, lad. I lad. Geordie did his hammy and missed the prelim. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. Google, hey Ant, go Pies, Ross from Scotland. Ross, welcome, mate. Appreciate you. Yeah, I'm surprised. Always surprised to see people from all around the globe who support the black and white. I'm always curious as well, Google. I mean, to ask the question, how did you come to support the black and white? How did you get exposed to the game of Aussie rules footy? Welcome. AB Buzz says, as long as Bobby is okay to play, they won't hold him back. All right. Let me ask a more direct question. Let's cut the crap. Let's get right into it, yeah? Let's not beat around the bush. Let's not deflect. Do you think Collingwood will select Bobby Hill? Do you think Collingwood will select Bobby Hill? All right, no, let's go one further. Do you think, not what you think or what you'd prefer, what do you think Collingwood will do with Bobby Hill? And the question is, do you think Collingwood will start Bobby Hill? Let's see about that. Me and Madison bumped into a bloke that watches you in the sauna and say, yeah, watch this analyst Collingwood YouTube. That's funny. He said I looked like Madison. What do you mean? Madison's got no hair on his head. Frank Ranieri. Fly should just ask Bobby man to man if he's ready to perform. His word should be good. His word should be good. I like that. Have a chat man to man. Fly needs to, look, I would love it. I would love a world that exists where Fly takes Bobby, pulls him aside, goes in a room, dims the lights up a candle. There's a medium rare Scotch fillet steak to share on the plate, and just a red wine on either side. Call that man to man or whatever you want. But Fly then proceeds to ask the question, Bobby, I'm taking off my S&C hat. Jared Wade, I've locked him in the gym. He thought he was going to be here for this conversation. He said hydrolyte for the drink, not red wine. Anyways, Bobby, man to man, are you fit to perform? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, I will skew all of your conditioning metrics, and I will present them to Jared Wade and make them seem like you have hit the numbers you need to hit to be selected for the game. I will manipulate that. If you give me your word, man to man, are you fit to perform, brother? And if he says yes, we're on. There we go. What are we saying? So people, okay, bit of progress here. Good question was asked, clearly. Do you think Collingwood will start Bobby Hill? 80% of you think Bobby will be selected and will start on Saturday. I hope for the 80% of you, I hope you're all right, because I want to be there right with you. Tim Van Coilenberg, my favorite surname to read out in the chat. Thank you for the 5, my friend. What are your plans for the off-season with the streams? Will you cover trade period, or are you taking a break in the off-season? Love what you're building. Firstly, thank you. Appreciate you. And this channel is nothing without all of you guys here. Otherwise, I'd be talking to myself and I'd be deemed borderline schizophrenic, but that's okay because I'm not talking to myself. Maybe I am. My girlfriend out there probably, I mean, anyone who comes into the house and walks into this whole thing, they'd probably think I'm somewhat crazy. So you guys restore some sort of normality in my mind to think that I'm not a psycho. Anyways, your question needs an answer, and the answer is like off-season is arguably busier than in-season because of all the player movement, hypotheticals, rumors, tweets. Long story short, there's going to be more content in the off-season than there is in the in-season. The only time where there will probably be a break is just over the Christmas period. I'd say there might only be 10 days off, like back-to-back. 10 days off between Christmas period and maybe New Year's. We'll see. But it won't be much. It'll be busier. It will be busier. Therese Zaza, I'm doing intermediate fasting at the moment. Why does no one tell you that fitting all your food into a small period is far harder than not eating for 16 hours? Let me read that again. I'm doing fasting at the moment. Why does no one tell me that fitting all your food into a small period is far harder than not eating for 16 hours? Why does no one tell? Why can I not understand this statement? I'm doing intermediate fasting at the moment. Okay, fasting. Intermediate, you mean intermittent. Okay. Why does no one tell you that fitting all your food into a small period is far harder than not eating for 16 hours? Well, yeah, intermittent fasting is so successful because if you set up your day to occupy yourself and have, I mean, for me, throw in caffeine, which suppresses your satiety. I think it can be easier than having smaller volumes of food. But you know what? Funnily enough, like, and while this has nothing to do with the show, I'm always happy to digress for a moment. Funnily enough, like sometimes just eating smaller volumes of food at a higher frequency works for me. Sometimes fasting works for me. Sometimes if I want to do the ultimate reset, if nothing's working, I'll do a 36-hour fast so I can retrain my brain to observe food cues and realize whether I'm hungry or if I'm just bored. So when you don't eat for 36 hours, you realize, oh shit, I'm hungry now. I'm bored, but I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm bored. I'm hungry. I'm genuinely hungry. And then you create that discipline and self-control, knowing that you've committed to a 36-hour fast. When you come out of that, you then find eating in windows much easier than maybe before. That's the ultimate reset if nothing's working for me normally. Stewie says, apparently things have turned around in Bobby's life and he's in a good space. Being on him like Rocky 2. Look, it's hard to truly understand where Bobby is at the moment, but he's in a good enough state of mind to be training consistently and putting his hand up. So at the very least, he's showing up and doing a job, which is what we all were hoping he could get his head around too. Rat Poison says, I really hate Hawthorn. I don't mind Collingwood. Rat Poison, remind me, who do you support? Are you a Carlton fan? But from memory? Mate, take away caffeine. I'm going UFC on your ass. What do you mean? What? Caffeine's all right. Better than other stuff, right? Dr. Anthony, there you go. What hours are you fasting between? I mean, I'm sure that's a question for Teresa. Rat Poison says, I'm extremely concerned about Hawthorn. We haven't beaten them in an important... Wait, you said, I really hate Hawthorn. I don't mind Collingwood. But then you say in your next message, Rat Poison, Darren, I'm extremely concerned about Hawthorn. We haven't beaten... Are you a Geelong fan? Yeah, you're a Geelong fan. That's right. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Shock slut. No one's going to watch. No one's going to go watch the State of Origin. Is that a question? Is that a question? Like, are we talking about the State of Origin that they're talking about implementing next season? Teresa, I tell you what, I might have to advise against this intermittent fasting for you because you're not making a whole lot of sense tonight. Unless you've smoked that Zaza plus. So you've smoked that Zaza and you're fasting. That can't be a good combination. That equals poor performance in the live stream chat section. And we got you as a moderator. We can't have you underperforming as a moderator, Teresa, when you're mixing many different things and it's just not putting you in the optimal state of mind, we'll say. Dom says 4 shot espressos between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. and you won't eat till dinner. I'd say, Dom, for me, I get to about 12. What do I have? I probably, most days I have 6 shots total. So I have one I have a double shot when I wake up. I'll have a double shot at about 10, and then I have a double shot at about 12, and then I probably need to eat. I get a bit queasy. Oh, internal temp is high. We're gonna have to change. It's 25 degrees, guys. I need to set up a fan system in here. We're gonna have to go to the camera mic or the laptop camera. There we go. Get a different angle. Oh, hello. Let's fix that up. We're gonna have to deal with this for now. Look how different I look. It's always boggles my mind when you look at a mirror and then a reverse mirror. Anyways, you're gonna have to deal with this for the remainder of this show. Caffeine is all right until you rely on it and get headaches without it. So Badri, I don't get headaches from caffeine, from not having caffeine for a certain amount of period throughout a day or over the course of a couple of days. But if I don't have caffeine for like 3-4 days, I get when I'm trying to get off it for a bit, for whatever reason, I get the worst migraines, and it genuinely, like, my head is booming for like a week while I'm trying to get off it. But I find if I don't have it for a day, or if I don't have it for 6 hours, I don't get to the point where I get headaches without it. Your cam girl phase. She's the perfect moderator. She's even... there you go. She's the perfect moderator. She's even eating in moderation. Josh is asking the question, did everyone get their prelim tickets? Who wanted to go? So I think MCC was released today, and then tomorrow for AFL members, or members in general, are the ones who get access to the next release. Am I right? I asked the question, no one answered. What was the question again? No one's going to go watch the State of Origin. I think it will garner some good interest. I think if good players put their hand up and take it seriously, like the NRL do, of course. But if it just becomes touch footy, where you just got to pull the tail off their belt, it's not going to be worth my time. I might still watch it, but I just won't be as emotionally invested in it versus what you see in the NRL, where they've just nailed it. Why can't we get to that? Like the NBA All-Stars it's a pantomime now, because it's just so, I don't know, it's just lost all substance, all passion, all seriousness to it. Whereas NRL have managed to maintain the integrity and the story behind it and the passion and the state division. I think that's what they've managed to maintain, and that's why it's behind the NRL final series, it's the biggest thing for them all season long. If we can get to that in the AFL with the state of origin, big win for the AFL. But if not, if it's just going to be like AFL All Stars or EJ Witten's game, then don't waste my time. So the 1892 members tomorrow get an opportunity at 9 a.m. There you go. Digging the new OnlyFans aesthetic. This guy. If you get headaches from caffeine, simple, drink more caffeine. I got you. Wise words. More is less. I don't know why they chose Perth in February as well. Undecided if you're going to go. All right. NRL works because it's the biggest rivalry and pinnacle of the sport. I mean, there's a rivalry. I suppose there's not as much as a rivalry in AFL from state to state. Like you can argue Queensland, Gold Coast. Like Sydney, Melbourne, New South Wales, and Melbourne, you can probably turn that into a rivalry. I think you probably have more luck turning a SA versus Victoria into the pinnacle rivalry, AFL rivalry from between two states. I think that's the one you want to invest in if you want Victoria to be if you want Victoria to be in a certain matchup. I think you'd want it to be against South Australia. Tim Van Coilenberg, could you argue that if we were to win this year, it would be even more impressive than 2023? Any flag is great, no doubt, but our older players have held up amazingly so far. I think 2023 is a year in itself that will be hard to beat just because of the run and all the close games and that side of the story. But this year would it be equally impressive in another way? Is the question I'm asking. Would it be equally impressive in another way? I think it's equally impressive because our list is even older than what it was in 2023. That's impressive. That Pendlebury is arguably better than what he was in 2023. Side bottom, the same. I think it would be equally impressive because our form slump this year at the end of the season was much worse. I would say much worse than what it was in 2023. And then who did we beat? We beat Melbourne, GWS, and then Brisbane. If you beat Adelaide in Adelaide and then Brisbane and then a Geelong or Hawthorn, I think that's equally impressive. That makes it equally impressive. I think you can make an argument for both of those flags, and they're special in different ways. I can't give you a definitive answer what would be more or less. There you go. Guys, I'm going to leave it at that. We will do a predicted 23 tomorrow. So, Dom, we can talk about who gets omitted then, potentially, if there will be any omissions and potential matchups. And we can go from there. Good conversation in State of Origin. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow, and then we'll have some training news as well tomorrow. And then we'll also find out which of the lucky ones in here will get access to the prelim final through the ticketing system. So hopefully everyone comes to the stream tomorrow with a prelim ticket if they have the chance to. So I'll leave it at that for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow for another Pies presser led by Predictor 23. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go Pies.